And this Fox News alert, Virginia's Attorney General sending a letter to the D.C. City Council and Mayor Muriel Bowser asking to work with them on crime following the horrific murder of Christy Bautista. Police say the 31-year-old Virginia native was killed by a repeat violent offender who broke into her D.C. hotel room and stabbed her 30 times last week. Let's bring in the Virginia Attorney General, Jason Miyares. Mr. Attorney General, good to have you with us today. I've got the letter in hand that you've sent to the D.C. City Council and to Mayor Muriel Bowser. Let me quote from it. You say, "I refuse to stand by quietly as you continue to deny, reject, and refuse to address your very prevalent crime spike that is impacting D.C. residents and its visitors and commuters. Your unwillingness to enforce your laws and hold violent offenders responsible puts your residents and mine at risk." Christy Bautista was staying in an up-and-coming area of D.C., not too far from where I am right now. She was there to attend a concert. Instead, she was savagely killed by this homeless man. What are you demanding the mayor and the city council do?
Well, thanks so much for having me, John. I think the first step is to acknowledge there's a problem. You've had members of D.C. City Council that have refused to admit they have a crime problem, even though you've seen both murder, armed robbery, sexual assaults are up over 80%. In the district. And we have over 3 million Virginians in the D.C. metro area. A lot of them both commute to work. They're having a record number of carjacking. But as you pointed out, Christy was doing what so many Virginians do all the time. They go into the district to enjoy the theater, the arts, in her case, a concert, and she was brutally murdered not even an hour after she had checked into her hotel room. And D.C.'s crime problem is becoming Virginia's crime problem. And we're asking them, stop this criminal first, victim last mindset. This repeat violent offender had already been arrested for armed robbery. He got released on bond by a very liberal, lenient judge. But it's been a systematic process they have put in place that's made it much more difficult for law enforcement to do their job. And I'd like to point out for your viewers that the average D.C. suspect that's been arrested for first-degree murder has been previously arrested an average of 11 prior times. So you're literally seeing a system right now in D.C. that's almost like a catch and release program for certain violent offenders. And now, tragically, it's causing the citizens of Virginia to suffer the consequences. And we're asking them acknowledge the problem, take crime seriously, and absolutely go after these repeat violent offenders that are creating such havoc and such pain for so many families that are losing loved ones to violent crime.
You mentioned, Mr. Attorney General, that she was murdered shortly after she checked into her hotel room. Let me just go over a little bit of the timeline as was gleaned from security footage. She checked into her hotel room at about 6 o'clock in the evening. About 45 minutes later, the perpetrator, George Sidnor, arrived in the hotel parking lot on a bicycle. He rode the bicycle around the parking lot for a little bit, got off of it, went over to her door, listened at the door for a moment, and then walked in. According to the security footage, you could hear her yelling for help. According to an eyewitness who called 911, she apparently came to the door screaming for help and then was pulled back inside by the perpetrator. The New York Post observed this, quote, this is talking about the perpetrator. He skipped out on court dates in both places. This would be D.C. and Prince George's County, and authorities had sought warrants for his arrest. If he returned to D.C. court, he was supposed to receive a GPS monitoring device that would have been on him until his February sentencing date. He was a fugitive because he didn't show up for a court date in neighboring Prince George's County. You got to wonder, how do people like this get out on the streets in the first place?
Well, listen, the first rule of government is to be able to protect your citizen. And what we have right now in Washington, D.C. and in certain areas in this country, you have the law-abiding looking over their shoulder in fear when the reality it should be the law-breaking. And the idea that she was there very innocently to go there and enjoy some of the best moments of life and to have that taken away from her. And think about it, this is Washington, D.C. This is the nation's capital. It should be a beacon of hope and freedom for the entire world, not a place where you see headlines of somebody losing their life in such horrific circumstances simply because they wanted to go see a concert. And so many of our elected leaders need to realize there is a problem and stop doing these policies. I've said before, John, one of the biggest problems you have in government is people assume just because they have good intentions, it'll guarantee good results. You have people on city council, maybe they mean well, but I want to measure results. The real world doesn't measure by your intentions. They measure what are the results. And by every objective standard, violent crime has gone up in Washington, D.C. the last couple of years, and it goes directly back to this criminal first, victim last mindset. They're more concerned about the criminals than the victims. And as position of Virginia Attorney General, we view ourselves as the people's protector, and that's what we're speaking out.
This guy's got a rap sheet that goes all the way back to 2002, and the fact that these career criminals are getting out in the streets is just stunning to a lot of people who commute in from Virginia like I do, as well as people who live here in the district, and we're just hitting the height of the tourist season as well. I just want to finish this off. I don't need a comment from you, but I just want to put up here, there's a GoFundMe page for Christy to pay for her funeral that's been established. Here's how she's described. A shining light that lifted up everyone's spirits around her. She encouraged people to do things they were afraid of and cheered them on. She showed them what true strength was through her courageous actions. She would remember one small random thing that you said and find any way to help. Her life was ended way too short by a cruel act of violence that she did not deserve.
Amen. She was a remarkable woman. We went to the same college, James Madison University. She was a bright light, and she's tragically missed.
Hopefully she'll get enough money, or at least her estate will, to be able to pay for her funeral. Mr. Attorney General, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.